Hello everybody, this is Gregory with How I Lost Over 100 Pounds and Kept It Off for 30 plus years, where there should be no hesitancy in your weight loss and in your weight maintenance. Today we're going to continue reflections of a weight loss warrior and talk about how my disordered eating affected my relationships. Now before we begin, if you need help with weight loss or weight maintenance, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also check out my website, which has tons of recipes and articles, like 600. My podcasts, my courses, which will soon be coming out. And if you appreciate my content at all, hit the like button, hit the notification button, and make a donation via PayPal. All right, as always, I recommend that you watch this in order. So today is kind of a grander episode. Right now, I'm kind of in episode 8 or 9, where I'm like in the 97 to 2000 range, so about 8 years into my weight maintenance. If you're new to the channel, I lost my weight in 1991, on the cusp of my senior year in high school. And so I definitely have a disordered relationship with food. It's still calorie in, calorie out. And I like to call this episode almost like food as my mistress. Because, and some of you can relate to this, and many of you who have had spouses or have spouses and have dealt with addiction could certainly relate to it. I had mentioned in the previous episode that my binging was pretty open when I lived alone. But when I moved in with my girlfriend in Alaska, I had to make it crypto. I had to closet it and make it covert, surreptitious. And so I began this series, which lasted well into our marriage, of secret binge eating. And then I think it's like, well, how did this affect our relationship? Because when we got together, it was maybe 4 years after I lost my 5 years. And then we were together all the way until 25 years into my weight loss and weight maintenance. So most of that time, I was married, or she was my girlfriend, or engaged, or married. And certainly this is kind of an episode where she could probably give a better insight into it. All I can do is kind of give like what my take is. I think at the beginning, like a lot of people who are married to food addicts or drug addicts or alcoholics, there was a certain amount of sympathy and a certain amount of maybe some naivety, where like at the beginning she didn't think like, oh, it's no big deal. So he used to be overweight, he's got some panic attacks here and there. It's not a big deal. And I think as the years went on, she probably realized that it did affect our relationship. And I would say it did affect our relationship in that I lied quite a bit. Like a lot of people with vices, you lie a lot. No, I didn't have an affair or anything like that during this time, or I was embezzling money or anything like that. What was I lying about? I mean, someone could say it was like a white lie, but I'd get home. Hey, how was your day? Fine. And then she wouldn't, again, I was with this woman 20 plus years. That's, how many days is that? 20 times 360, 6,700 days. I don't remember if like every day she was asking me, did you binge eat today? I don't know if she asked that, or she didn't even bother asking after a little while because she just assumed that I did. Maybe she didn't care as long as I was keeping my weight at a reasonable weight. And most of this time, I think all of this time, aside from when my father died, my weight was pretty normal. I don't know how she felt, but I can certainly say, like, in retrospect, my food issues certainly did not help my relationship. I mean, I don't think anybody could say that having a binge eater in your life is somehow, it's a good thing. Yay! No, it's not a good thing. It's a horrible thing. And I have to give her credit for just enduring it, right? Having to be with that. And when we got married, when we got engaged, she knew I was dealing with this. And when we got married, 3 or 4 years later, she knew that I was dealing with this. And I think that it was hard because I dealt with a lot of self-loathing. Because even though I had the regular weight, I was a size 34 waist, 6'2", blah, 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 I had hair, all these like normal artifices, I still felt like a fat kid in a skinny person's body. And no doubt I self-loathe, because why else am I binge eating? Because I self-loathe. You binge eat because you self-loathe. You binge eat because you have a disordered relationship with food that typically goes back to your childhood. So there was still a lot of self-loathing, mixed in with a lot of anxiety and neurosis. They go hand in hand. Because one person, like from an outsider's perspective, it could look at me at the time, I'm 26, whatever, 34 waist, 6'2", have hair. And they're like, what are you anxious about, right? You have a good girlfriend, you got a full ride to graduate school, you have a sweet gig as a TA, you're living in Alaska, it's fun. Even in the winters, it's fun, a great place to live. But when you're in it, you don't see it. So in my mind at the time, like I'm not going to say the entire, most of the weight maintenance time, it was paralyzing fear that I was going to gain the weight back. And there is this massive chasm because, of course, I knew there was a better chance I would gain the weight back if I'm binge eating. But I can't stop binge eating. See, if I have a normal relationship with the food, then I don't really have to worry about gaining the weight back because I love running. It's so ingrained in me. It's still ingrained in me now. And I've never had major injuries, thank God. That it would have been a lot easier. But I'm in this dysfunctional calorie in, calorie out. We have an episode on calorie in, calorie out. And it obviously wasn't good for me. And it wasn't good for my relationships because I was dealing with a lot of self-loathing that I was burdening onto her. She's like, probably is like, when I got with you, I didn't want some self-loathing food addict. I don't blame her. So I think that hurt our relationship. Just not only just lying about binge eating on days where I binged eat, and maybe just being in a grumpy mood because my stomach felt horrible. But I think it was just having a husband who self-loathed all the time. Probably wasn't good for our marriage. And I wouldn't say that's why we divorced, 20 years later. But I think in retrospect, I think it was really hard for her. And I feel bad for her. And I sympathize for her. And as a whole, she was a good girlfriend and a good wife in that regard. So maybe some of you can relate to this. Maybe some of you are married and are a food addict or a drug addict or an alcohol dependent. Post in the comments. I'd like to hear from you because I'm honest. I think certainly my food issues negatively and perniciously affected my relationships. But I'd like to hear from you. Hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Until next time, take care. God bless and pray.